Hey, what's up guys? I'm Mr. Chris with infotainment.com. Today I have a 2023 Ram 1500. This is a DT model truck. This is 19 plus. This install is going to cover. We're going to be doing some cargo bed lighting in this pickup truck. It's a pretty straightforward install, so if you're looking for some additional lighting in your truck bed, maybe you have a truck cover, tonneau cover, or a camper shell on there, and you want a little bit more light in there, you're going to want to stick around for this install. All right, let's get into it. All right, so where we're going to start is on the driver's side rear section of our truck bed. Your kit comes with two lights, one of them having a push button on it, the on-off button. This is the one that's going to go on the driver's side. Basically, it's as easy as popping this little cover off and popping the new light in with the wiring. But because we have a bed liner, it's a little complicated to get this little knockoff plate off and the new light in there. So I'm going to pull the bed liner out a little bit, which this one has a panel pop right here. It is not typical to have a screw in your bed liner, but some places put screws in the bed liner. So if you have one, pull that screw out. Once you have the bed liner detached, basically the way these things go in is they're bent in and kind of tuck underneath your rail. So they're held in with pressure usually. So to get it out, you want to pull from below, and that'll bend it, and it'll pop out at the top. And now we have plenty of access to get to our light back there. All right, so all we have to do from here is get our panel tool. We'll pop off the little cover. And before we snap our light in, because this is kind of high up in the inside of the truck bed skin, I'm gonna run a large zip tie down. What I'm gonna do is kind of make sure this doesn't fall back down in there, is I'm gonna tape the harness that I need to connect to this light. I'm gonna tape it at the end of the zip tie and pull it up into this hole. Let me jump underneath the truck and do that. All right, so we have our harness here. I went ahead and laid it all out and got the ends of the harness all out here so I can explain what's going on here. You have two terminal pins right here. This is gonna run to the front or the cab of the truck. We're not concerned with that. Then you have your light connectors. The double-headed connector, this is going to be the driver's side. The single side is going to go over to the passenger side. On this double-ended side, you also have a single ring terminal. This is for your ground. And we're actually going to ground this to the frame of the truck up underneath here. So we're going to grab the side with the double ends on it, get our zip tie that we dropped down. I'm going to tape this to it so it doesn't fall off. Leave a little flag here so I can remove my tape pretty easy once I get it up there. All right, and then I'm gonna pull it through and we can attach our light. All right, so we got our wires up here. You'll notice there's two connectors. One is white, one is black. These will actually not plug in if they're wrong. So if I tried to plug the white one into this one, it just wouldn't plug in right now. It'll only go one way, so you can't get these wrong. But once you have them plugged in, that button will be on the bottom. Right up top here, it says RAM, and this is right side up. So if you had it the other way, it just wouldn't look right. Get this in here. We'll slide the bottom in first. And the top clips in. Now we can put our bed liner back. All right, now we can jump over to the passenger side and do the same thing. All right, now we'll grab our zip tie, run it down, and before we can tape up the wire, we're gonna have to run it over to the passenger side. So let's do that now. All right, so I got the passenger side connector here. I'm gonna run that over the frame rail, and basically what I'm gonna do is there's a lot of included zip ties with your kit. I'm gonna zip tie along this factory harness. So going to the front, going to the side, I'm just gonna stick to wherever there's factory wires. I'm gonna zip tie right to it. It's always a safe bet to follow the factory routing just because you know it's gonna be away from any kind of hot parts or moving parts. So it's gonna be away from all your suspension components as well as your exhaust components. All right, so we're back up underneath the truck. We got the wiring taken care of all in the truck bed. Now we're at the point where we have to ground it. We have 2 ground studs here on the frame. You can use either one, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna use this one right here. It is a 10mm nut on there that we will pull off. And then we will attach our ground and reattach our bolt, or nut rather. All right, with our ground all snugged up, now we are ready to continue running this wire up towards the cab. And like I said earlier, I'm just gonna follow this harness all the way up to the front. All right, so we worked our way up front underneath the truck, and now we're ready to bring the wire into the cab. There is an access point right under here that we can drill. So what I'm gonna do is pull up our driver's side kick panel and sill plate. And up underneath that sill plate, you have some little Christmas tree pops in here. We'll just pop these up. They're attached to the carpet, so you can't pull the carpet up easily without removing these first. Get this carpet folded back. And right under here, you can see you got some sound deadening, kind of partially covering this round access hole. Right in the center of that, I'm just gonna drill a small hole, just big enough to get our wiring harness up through there. Once the hole's done, the wires are through, we can go ahead and seal that back up if there's a little gap around it with some silicone or some strip caulking or whatever you have handy. All right, so I got my drill bit. I grabbed a 1/2" drill bit just because that's right around the size that we need it to be. It's gonna be a tiny bit bigger than this wire. It's gonna make that running through that hole really easy. I'm gonna come down right in the center. Pop a hole in there just like that. And now I'll feed that wire in from below. All right, we got all of our slack pulled up off of that wire. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put our carpet back down. Basically, these 2 pins are gonna get pinned into the BCM, which is right against this kick panel. It's up here though. So I'm gonna zip tie this wire up on the side, and then I'm just gonna coil up the excess that I don't use after I pin these into the BCM. All right, so we made our way up to the BCM, which is right up under your dash onto the left side of the, above your kick panel area. Basically, it looks like this. It's just mounted to the side. And we have to either pin or tap into 2 lines that are existing on this BCM up underneath the dash. Because that's a little hard to see, I'm gonna show you up here on the seat with an example BCM here. Basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna need to disconnect C1, which is this first top connector up here, or it's called A, I believe. This is A, B, C, D, E. So C1 or A, and C7, which would be this very far bottom right one. I believe the connector color is blue. We don't have it here on this example, but it's literally the same thing as this, just a different color, and we're gonna tap into a different pin on this one. But this top one right here, once you pop that free, basically it's a clip in the center, press down, pull the lever, that'll pop that connector out of there. When you flip it to the side, you'll see a little notch right here, or a little keyway. You lift that up and that'll free the connector from the terminals. And this is what we're trying to get to. So we're looking for pin 5, which these are numbered. And if you look closely right here, you got a 12 on this side, you got a 1 right here. The other side is gonna be 13 to 24 right there. So number 5 is what we're looking for. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one right here, which on here is like a beige or a tan orange. On the vehicle, I believe it's a beige white or tan white. It's gonna match the color that is corresponding with the kit. So on our kit here, we have a beige or brown with a white stripe, and the other one is brown with a violet stripe. So this beige white one is gonna be the one for your A connector, pin 5. So once you find pin 5, you do not have to depin it if there's a pin in there. If there is no pin in there, you're just gonna put the new terminal in there and it's gonna click into place. If you have one like we do on our truck that's already populated, you're gonna grab either a T-tap, you can solder it, a Scotch lock, or like what we like to use here is posi taps, which basically the gray side has a notch in it when you unscrew it. And this is meant to go over that wire that you're tapping into. The other end has a piercing needle. So when you screw that down in there, that's gonna pierce that wire and make a connection. Make sure it's nice and snug. The other end, you can loosen, you can actually remove it all the way, and you'll see it's just a metal stud in there. So for the install, we're gonna have this loosely threaded on there. I'm gonna use this example wire here. You're gonna remove the terminal end from the wire that is in your kit and strip back about 1/8 to 1/4 inch of bare wire. You're going to want to stick it into the open end of your posi tap and then tighten that down. Give it a nice little tug. Now that's a good connection. Basically, we're going to be doing this for both of them. If they both have pins in them, then we'll grab our connector, slide it back down, and then we can reinstall it into our BCM. Once we get this step done on the truck, we'll be done with the install and we can move on to programming the BCM. All right, so we pulled both connectors down. This is the C7, which I was mentioning earlier, the bottom right connector on that BCM. It has a blue cover on there. For this connector, we're going to be looking for number 16. So 13, 14, 15, 16 is right here. And C1, which is a little harder to pull down, we're going to be looking for number 5. And that's on this side. 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. All right, so that's the 2 wires that we're concerned with. We'll get our posi taps on there and make our connections. Then we'll get everything plugged back in. All right, so I got all the BCM connections made up top here. All I'm gonna do now is zip tie up the excess wire and I'll close everything back up. All right, that wraps up the install. We can move forward with programming. All right, so the installation part is done. Now we're ready to start programming. Basically, what we have to do is install a security gateway bypass. I went ahead and pulled down the knee bolster of our truck just to show you where it is. It's up underneath the dash, kind of to the left of the steering wheel, going straight up. So this is it right here. There's 2 plugs, 2 wires, and if you pull them out, you'll see what you got there, 2 connectors. And on the bypass, you also have 2 spots for those connectors. So basically, you're just going to plug this in, and this is going to allow us to get our programming done. All right, once you have your bypass module plugged in, we can go ahead and run our Genie programmer. And this is going to be plugged into your OBD2 port after you turn the ignition into the run position. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so we'll turn the ignition on, into run. Plug in our programmer. You're going to see a blue light to begin, and then it's going to turn green and the horn is going to honk when the programming is finished. All right, we got a green light. That means we're good to go. And don't forget, once you get the programming complete, you don't need that bypass module plugged in anymore. You can go ahead and unplug it and plug your gateway module back in underneath your dash. All right, that wraps up the install. As you can see, that probably took me 30 minutes to an hour to do. It's a really simple install. Besides, the BCM might be a little tight for some people, but you can see we got our bed lights back here. If you have a camper shell, tonneau cover, it's going to come in really handy to have that extra light in your bed. All right, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, be sure to head back to infotainment.com. Thanks for watching.